The number is 480, not a balance, not a paycheck, a score. 3 digits on a screen that decide things you didn't know needed deciding. You pull it up on your phone at 11 p.m. because you can't sleep and some part of you needs to look at the number even though looking doesn't change it. 480. The app shows it in red like a warning light on a dashboard you don't know how to read. You didn't max a card on purpose. You missed 2 payments during a stretch when the job changed and the paycheck came late twice in a row. The bank didn't ask why. The system doesn't ask why. It just recorded the lateness and moved the number down. You apply for an apartment. The property manager runs the report in front of you, casual, routine, the way someone checks the weather. Her face doesn't change, but her tone does. She says the deposit will need to be higher, 2 months instead of 1. She says it like it's nothing.
To you, it's rent money you don't have twice over. You ask if there's another option. She says you could add a co-signer. You don't have one of those either. You leave the leasing office and sit in your car in the parking lot for 4 minutes before you start the engine. Nobody said the word bad. Nobody said the word risk. But you felt both words in the room, the way you feel temperature change without anyone touching a thermostat. You apply for a credit card to start rebuilding. Denied. The letter comes 5 days later, formal, printed, addressed to you by name like it's being polite about the rejection. Insufficient credit history combined with derogatory marks. You read the sentence twice. Derogatory. A word that sounds like it belongs to a courtroom, not a missed cable bill from 14 months ago. The first rule at 480, you're not being judged for who you are. You're being judged for a number that remembers your worst month and forgets every other one.
Level 2, 580. You paid the secured card down every month for almost a year. $300 of your own money held hostage so a bank would extend you $300 back and call it credit. You never missed a payment. Not once. You watched the score inch up 10 points, then 14, then stall completely for 6 weeks for no reason you could find. You call the credit bureau. Hold music loops. A recorded voice tells you your call is important. 40 minutes later, a person picks up and reads from a script that explains nothing you didn't already know. You hang up more confused than when you called. You get pre-qualified for an unsecured card. The limit is $500. The interest rate is 26.99%. You read the number twice, certain it's a typo. It isn't. You take it anyway, because a mediocre card is still a better tool than no card, and you need history more than you need a good deal. Your car insurance renews. The premium goes up $34 a month. You call to ask why. The agent says credit-based insurance scoring, like it's a normal sentence. You didn't get a ticket, you didn't file a claim. The number moved and the premium moved with it, quietly, automatically, without a single human deciding it should. You start noticing the number is attached to things that have nothing to do with money. Cell phone plans, utility deposits, a job application that mentions a background check will include a credit review for a role that has nothing to do with finance. You don't get the job. Nobody tells you why. You assume. The second rule. At 580, the number isn't measuring your debt anymore. It's measuring how much the world is willing to trust you with. And trust turns out to be the most expensive thing you don't have.
Level 3, 650. Something shifts, not dramatically, just enough to notice. You get approved for a real credit card, not secured, an actual limit of $2,000 with a 19% rate. Not great, not the 26.99% either. The letter uses the word congratulations for the first time since you started this. You apply for a car loan. The dealer runs your credit in front of you and doesn't flinch the way the leasing agent did 2 years ago. The rate is 9.4%, higher than the ad on the wall, lower than anything you've been offered before. You take it. You make every payment on time for 14 months straight, and the score climbs another 30 points without you doing anything except paying what you already owed. You apply for an apartment again. The property manager runs the report and says nothing about deposits. She just slides the lease across the desk. You almost ask if she's sure. You don't. You sign it in silence, waiting for the catch that never comes. Your friend mentioned she got denied for a card you were just approved for. You don't say anything about your own number. Not out of secrecy, out of the quiet understanding that comparing scores feels like comparing something too personal to say out loud at a dinner table. The third rule, 650 doesn't make you good. It just makes you average enough that the system stops actively working against you.
Level 4, 720. The mail starts arriving differently. Pre-approved offers with your name printed in gold lettering. Credit limits that would have seemed like fiction 3 years ago. You open one from a card you didn't apply for. $8,000 limit. 0% APR for 15 months. You'll laugh a little, alone in your kitchen, because the same institution that rejected you outright at 480 is now mailing you unsolicited invitations. You refinance the car loan. The new rate is 5.1%. The loan officer barely looks at your file before approving it. He says your profile is clean. You don't ask what dirty looked like from the other side of that same institution. You already know. You apply for a mortgage pre-approval just to see. The number comes back higher than you expected, and the rate is nearly a full point lower than a coworker mentioned getting on his own loan last year. He makes more than you. His score is lower. You don't bring it up. A fraud alert hits your card at 2 a.m., some charge in a state you've never visited. You call the number on the back. Someone answers on the second ring. No hold music, no script. The charge reversed before you finish explaining it. You remember the 40-minute hold from 580 and can't reconcile it with the 90 seconds this took. The fourth rule. At 720, the system starts extending trust before you've asked for it, and you realize trust was never about your character. It was always about your history.
Level 5, 780. You stop thinking about the number, not because it stopped mattering, because it stopped being a problem to solve. It became a background fact, like your height. You get a card with no annual limit stated, just a number that adjusts itself upward every few months without a request. You buy furniture on a store financing plan, and the salesman mentions, almost as an aside, that you qualified for the top tier without him even running the soft check first. He can tell from the pre-screen. You ask what that means. He says people in your range basically get whatever they want. You don't feel different walking out of the store. You just notice for the first time that you weren't nervous walking in. Your bank calls to offer a private line of credit tied to your investment account, something you didn't know existed until they explained it existed for people like you. The rate is lower than anything advertised publicly. You realize the good rates were never on the website. They were never meant to be seen by people who needed to look for them. The fifth rule, past 780, the best terms in the entire financial system stop being something you find and start being something that finds you.
Level 6, 820. A number most people will never see attached to their own name. Your mortgage broker mentions in passing that at this range, lenders sometimes waive fees just to win your business, competing for a borrower instead of qualifying one. You didn't know banks competed for people. You thought people competed for banks. You refinance again. This time not because you need to, because a lender reached out first with a rate 0.6% below your current one, unprompted, just to keep your loan on their books instead of a competitor's. Your car dealer offers 0% financing on a $60,000 vehicle without a single question about income verification. The paperwork clears in 9 minutes. You remember sitting in a parking lot 4 years earlier after being denied a $500 secured card, and the memory feels like it belongs to someone else's life, a stranger you used to know well. You mention the number once at a family dinner. Your cousin asks how. You don't have a clean answer. Paid on time? Kept utilization low? Waited. It sounds too simple to be true. And it is exactly that simple. And that's the part nobody wants to hear. The sixth rule. At 820, the number stops representing risk entirely. It starts representing patience, measured in years most people give up somewhere in the middle of.
Somewhere right now, someone is opening an app at 11 p.m., staring at a number in red, wondering if it will ever change. It doesn't know that it isn't measuring who they are, it's only measuring what they did in their worst months and remembering it longer than anyone else ever would. The system that will one day mail them gold-lettered invitations is the same system quietly denying them tonight. It didn't get kinder, it just kept score. And somewhere on the other side of that same number years from now, a version of them is going to sign a lease in silence, waiting for a catch that never comes.